The beginning of episode 6 for Kill Me Heal Me was hilarious because because he was trying to like not kiss her. I don't know why, but she was like, "Why would you stop? I've had she's like she had a bug because both both guys are like driving her crazy. Well, both personalities are driving her crazy." So she was like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing?"
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another review on the Review Garden.
And even her family was hilarious in that moment because they were stuck downstairs because the door closed on its own and it doesn't open from the inside. So they they had to wait for someone to come open the door. So when the brother came to open the door and saw her on top of him, he started yelling for his mom. And then and then after they sent him away, um the mom's like, "You're supposed to play hard to get. What were you doing?" And the father was like, "She's someone who," he called her something, and it means someone who easily falls in love or something like that. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And then the brother said something to her too, and I was like, but I don't remember what it was. But it was pretty much a funny start to the episode, but then took a turn, because I'm guessing he normally with the personalities, they don't remember what happened. Like he doesn't remember what happened when someone else takes over, but apparently Segi was knew exactly what happened because when he took over, he trashed the house. And then he left them a message saying that if you go near my woman again, I'm going to go um I'm gonna go to your woman and pretty much hurt her type of thing. And then speaking of his woman, quote, woman, um she's the one that he's been like in love with for the longest time, right? But then she's engaged to his cousin, and then the she has the audacity to come over here and get mad at the fact that he quotes is in love with someone else, right? So like when they had she came to his house and saw the um what's her name, and saw her leave, and then after that she got mad and was like, "Come open the door right now." I'm like, what right do you have to tell this man to come open the door because you see someone else, because you see another woman in his house, right? Like, you don't want him. You don't want him to be your boyfriend or to be your husband or to be your fiance. You're engaged to his cousin. Like, I cannot stand people like that. You don't want him, but you don't want him looking at anyone else. The fact that his attention is now to someone else, regardless of whether or not, you know, they're actually dating, but she's like, "Oh, you're supposed to only be interested in me." Like, how does that make sense? How does that make sense? You knew that he liked you. You ignored that fact. You just liked the fact that he was always there for you. Then after that, when he's no longer there, now you have a problem. Like, make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like that is stupid. You're acting like you own him when you don't. So I'm happy that he put his foot down and was like, and actually told her, "Are you gonna leave my cousin for me? If you're not gonna leave him, then you have nothing, to say to me. Like, just keep holding on to him." I mean, obviously, I know he said it because he's trying to quote protect her, Um, but she needed to hear that. You want to be with, but I don't even think she wants to be with the other cousin. Part of me feels like she's with the cousin to make him jealous. Like, why are you trying to make somebody jealous that you don't even want to be with? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I don't understand this delusion that this girl has. And now she was crying when he was getting out of the restaurant after he finished telling her that. Like, so you want to be with a guy. The guy you're with doesn't like the other guy being around you. You know the other guy likes you, but you don't want him to go and be with anyone else. You just want him to stay behind you, stay next to you while you are in a relationship with someone else. Like, what kind of selfish crap is that? It's weird. And in terms of the cousin, I really dislike how cocky he's being, and I'm pretty sure the only reason he went after the girl is because um you know is because he liked her, and he just wanted to take something away from him. Because if I heard it correctly, like in the first few episodes, um you know the cousin is an illegitimate son. And if we want to talk about, he's also an illegitimate son too, right? Because his mom, I don't know what the story is yet, but it will be cleared up towards the end. But I'm pretty sure they're both quote illegitimate. So like, what makes you better than him? If anything, the grandma, who's the chairwoman, wants him to take over. Cha Do Young to take over, right? He doesn't want the cousin to take over, but like he's acting like he's all that, all because he's technically his boss right now. You take the girl he likes when he's working underneath you. You change, the project. He was in charge of a project. You change who's handling that project, and then like you're doing other stuff. You even brought up the fact that you want to use this specific hospital because that's the big hospital. Like, it's so annoying. And my thing is, I know like him and his personalities, well, the other ones kind of stay quiet. It's really Segi who wants to take over, but I feel like he needs to embrace them, because there's certain things that he can't do because it's not his personality to do, but Segi can take care of it, right? Like talking back to the cousin, Segi can take care of it, but he needs to embrace them and use them. Like all of them needs to come together at once, because every time he's facing some kind of stress related event, they come out, someone comes out, right? So why not just embrace it and let them take over when he can't. He just needs to figure out a way to communicate with them, because they don't actually know what's going on with, except for Segi. Like I said before, he looks like he's in tune with what's going on with everything. In episode 6, Do Young um did ask her to become his secret doctor, because Segi was trying to take over and wants to silence him. But you know, at the end of episode 6, she was calling to say that she can't be his doctor. She's taking her boss gave her the option, like, hey, you don't have to take his offer to become his secret doctor. You can go study abroad for 6 months, right? So she had to weigh the option of going study abroad for 6 months or becoming his secret doctor for 3 months. So she chose that. And at the end of episode 6 slash the beginning of 7, she's calling him to tell him that she can't take over. And that, she thanks him for everything, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't him who picked up the phone. It was another personality who picked up the phone. We haven't seen him yet, but the doctor, his psychiatrist did mention him in the beginning episodes. So this one is the suicidal personality. It's a 17-year-old boy who pretty much has suicidal tendencies. So, you know, obviously the message she was leaving him was not the message that this personality was supposed to take, because now this personality is like, oh, you were gonna abandon him too. And so the personality gave her like an hour to come find him. So she's over here calling his secretary, calling Dohan's secretary, but he couldn't pick up the phone. So she called the original doctor, her boss, and they were trying to come up with where he could be. So they finally realized that he's on a rooftop. So he's leaving like a dying message. So he had, I think what he had on the rooftop, he drew all of the different personalities. I think that's what he did, because when she finally got to the rooftop, he was like, oh, he needed to show everyone the personalities. So in there was a personality called Nana, and that's the same name that I'm Nana that the mom was scratching off of she was cleaning it off of the basement, the wine cellar. She was like, I hope he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember her. So I thought it was going to be another person, but it seems like it's one of his personalities. So I'm not completely sure about that yet. Um, but yeah, so she finally made it to the rooftop and um, tried to tell him to stop, and he was like, well, if you really wanted me to stop, you should have showed up on time. And he was like, you're 2 minutes late. So like he pushed her, and like she hit her head. I thought at that moment, like, Segi was gonna come out and be like, what are you doing to my woman, type of thing. But no, she had to like completely yell at him and try to get him um to get him to snap out of it, and like call Dohan's name and be like, you need to snap out of it. So the reason why she couldn't get in touch with the secretary is because the secretary was meeting with the grandma, and this woman is so cold. She doesn't even care about him. She's like, she was like asking, what does he have going on? She's like, well, I don't care about what he has going on. Whatever he has going on, you better keep it silent. You better not let the other guy find out about it. That's what I want until my son wakes up. So she doesn't care about him, even though that's her grandson. She doesn't care. She just wants her son, who's in a coma, to take over. She just wants her son to take over the company. That's who she wants to come back. And she doesn't care about Doha, which I'm like, ooh, which I'm like, that's probably where his personalities came from. Each of his personalities right now, they cope with something different. So it's kind of like a feeling with the suicidal one. he feels abandoned. He feels um left out. That's why he wants to um you know unalive himself. And he's like, oh, the world would be a better place without him in it and all his the personalities. And then you have Segi, who pretty much wants Segi's more the mean one. He tells it like it is. So, and Dohan is like the quiet one. And Perry Park, Perry Park is more the chaotic one, who's like he's gonna set everything on fire type of thing. So it's different. That's what I'm saying. Like they should all work together because they're all just, even though it's almost like each of them came out at a point where he needed it to come out, right? So 17-year-old suicidal one, like what happened to him when he was 17-year-old type of thing. That's what I'm thinking. So each of them just go to the extreme when they come out, but in reality, if he embraces them, they could be more subtle. You know? That's what I think. Okay, I wanted to do one more if I understand this correctly, because the whole Omega thing is coming about, and he just told the his publisher. So Omega is Odin's brother, right? Quote, twin brother, right? So he just told the story of the book that he's currently writing, which is kind of about his life, right? He said the publisher asked him, is it a nonfiction or fiction? He says that he needs to do more research to figure out which one it is, right? So I'm assuming the story is about him. So let's try to understand Dohan's family tree, right? So there's his grandma and the and her husband. They had a son. The son, um, yeah, they had a son. The son that's currently in the coma, right? So his son was married to someone, and the father didn't really like the son, so the father took a liking to the son's wife. And then there's something going on in the family that's saying that the father, well, pretty much, let's say the grandpa then had an affair with his son's wife, right? Okay. So she had a baby, not for her own husband, but for her husband's father. And that baby is the one that they're trying to find. Everyone is trying to find, because they're like, if that baby comes back, what does it mean for everyone? Okay, this is how I'm thinking it is, right? Okay, so then I'm guessing since his wife went to the United States or went abroad, right? He went and had an affair, or I'm guessing, because they're not saying that she's actually his wife. So that means that he was in a relationship with Dohan's mom while he was still married, which is why they keep calling him illegitimate, right? So he had a son with her, which is Dohan. And I'm thinking the child that the grandpa had with his son's wife is Omega. So it's Odin's quote twin brother. because his parents are not his actual parents. His parents adopted him. I think that's how it is. So I guess in the end, we're going to see if that's actually how they broke it down. Because sometimes it just gets so complicated. I'm like, whoa, I'm trying to catch up here and trying to memorize each person's name, just so that you can put one and two together. So that would mean that the that would mean that Omega, let's just call him Omega. Omega is Dohun's uncle. Yeah, yeah, because his grandpa is the one who's the father. Yeah, so he's his uncle, but they're the same age. That's funny. That's funny. So after her encounter with the suicidal personality, she decided to stay with Dohan instead of going to John Hopkins, but instead of going to America. But she told everybody that she was going to John Hopkins, and then she just showed up at his house. So her whole family and even her boss thinks that she's in America, right? So, but she's with Dohan and she's helping him. So, like a couple of days like pass, even the girl Cheyun comes to his house still doing her mess, and then he had Rijin come outside and pretty much make her angry, but she's like helping him be better and kind of take notes and learn about his family tree and learning about the different personalities. So he has like a slideshow of all the different personalities and how to, you know, and how to engage with them and his understanding of how they come out, right? And then, so one night he had a run in with, well, she had a run in with all of the personalities. She didn't get to meet Nana, but the one who's, but the other female personality who's a woman told her that Nana came out and was playing with the teddy bear that Segi gave her. The only person that didn't come out that night was Segi. The suicidal personality came out and thanked her for helping because now all the personalities did not feel like that anymore. They're a little bit happier. The only one that's like his twin is Yona. And she is, oh my gosh, she's so bad. They even got in a fight because she's a 17-year-old girl. So she's like obsessed with boy bands, and she ran out of the car to go see those boy bands, and like the two of them were just fighting in the middle of a group of people, and the people were like videotaping everything and then saying, "Oh my gosh, a guy is beating up a girl." But in reality, because it's the girl personality, it was more like, quote, two women fighting, but you know, people see a guy hitting a girl. Um and then the whole thing with Omega. So Dohan, that's his job at his company at the last meeting, as I mentioned earlier, when like the cousin took his responsibility away from him and gave him another responsibility. So that's the new responsibility, getting copyrights from Omega. Now, Omega is Regent's brother, right? So, um, so he went to a recitation event that that he kind of planned for Omega to kind of reveal himself. So, but there were other authors there. Um, but the brother showed up, and you know the both of them were there. Now her brother knows that she's in the U.S. So when she saw her brother come to the event, she they both ran out. But the brother saw Dohun, and then they were talking. But then Dohun started he looked like he was about to change into someone else. So Rijin came and took him away, and as she was taking him away, the brother saw her. So the brother's like, "What? She's not in the US?" So I think that was his decision to reveal himself, because he asked for Dohun to meet with him, and he revealed his identity, right? And the reveal was very similar to the one in She Was Pretty, where the brother and Rijin played in. It was very close, very similar to the reveal of 10, with him staring at the window, and then the person walks in, and then the writer turns around, and they're like, "What? You're this?" She was like, "What? You're 10? What? You're Omega?" So it was pretty much like very similar. And then when they sat on the table, um he kind of revealed the fact that he had already knew him, right? But if you remember, in the beginning, he always referred to him as Perry Park, because that's who he introduced himself as on the plane. But then, so Dahun was like, "So how long did you know that I'm Dahun and not Perry Park?" So he was like, "A long time ago, because I saw your picture in a magazine, blah, blah, blah." So he pretty much stated his conditions. And his third condition was that he gets to meet with the sister. So they met with each other, and I don't know, but I'm getting this feeling that um that he likes his sister as a woman. Like, I'm guessing because he knows that they're not related, that he started liking her, maybe. But I don't know, it's still a little weird. Still a little weird for me, because still have like that sister thing on it, because he was in the car, and he was like, "Oh, that was my first mistake," when he introduced them in the airport. And then his second mistake was when he introduced them again in when Perry Park came over their house. And then he's like, his final mistake was when he was encouraging her to follow her heart, type thing. So I'm like, mm, is that just like a brotherly thing, or is that like a sis? I don't know. I hope not. I hope that they don't try to put a the love triangle with the three of them, and it's like, no, no, like, ugh, no. Siggy made an appearance in episode 10, and he is pretty much causing havoc because when he finally appeared, he saw that um, Regin was right in front of him. So he was like, "Why are you here? Why are you in bed with um Dohun, right?" So he's mad and he goes to the other girl's house, and we don't know what he did. Didn't really show you much about what happened, but the other girl was pretty much like shaken a little bit. So I don't know much about we don't really know much about what happened um there. And then he went to the office building, and all the ladies were like falling for Segi because he looks different. His hair is pulled back, he's wearing the eyeshadow, he's dressed differently. And the cousin, he pretty much called out the cousin during a meeting because you know they they find out that he got Omega. So then the cousin gives the project back to the person who was handling it at first. And I'm like, you can't do that. And that's when the secretary was like, um, he signed the contract on the premise that, you know, Dohun is the one who handles the project. So he's like, oh, you can't take it back. So Um, and then they kind of show you that the brother kind of figures something out, and then he goes to pick up his sister from Dohun's house, and Segi's outside, and Segi pretty much calls him out. You know, are you her real brother? And you looking at her with eyes of a man. Da, 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 da. Are you really looking at her like brotherly love, or is it more of more? And then he said something to Segi that I'm like, he was like, you're the son of Seijin group. So I don't know if that was supposed to be a clue or something, because technically if he's the other woman's son, technically isn't he a son of the same group? So with that, I'm confused. But you know, Segi is also mad at the mom because the mom asked to meet Rijin, and he's mad at the mom because the mom was a witness to that time when he was 7 or 8, because it was at that moment that Segi was created, because Dohun wasn't strong enough to handle the torture that was done to him. So Segi was created to handle it. That's why Segi's the only one with the memory of that. So that's why he's mad at the mom, because the mom was there and she witnessed it and she didn't do anything to stop it. So, but yeah, Rijin's brother pretty much figured out that, you know, Dohun has DID. So yeah, so he took her out of the house and brought her back home to be punished by her parents. Rijin wasn't really much punished by her parents. It was more like they were disappointed that she couldn't come to them. But I'm like, one of them is happy because one of them, that was her decision. They wanted, I don't remember which one it was who was like, because when she had both options, she was like, should I go um you know to the US? Should I help the trouble? And one parent said go to US, one parent said help the trouble, and the brother was the one who was like, whatever you feel comfortable with. So I know deep down one of them is happy. Um, and her, when she was brought back home, her boss was there, and you know they were like, did you know about this? Technically he didn't know, he just found out like what, yesterday, that she didn't go. So it wasn't like he knew all this time, he just found out, just like them. So I feel like he could have just said that, uh that's how he found out. But in terms of who else Segi is mad at, he is mad at his grandma. His grandma, who doesn't even care much for him, right? Well, Dohun doesn't care much for Dohun. She only cares about her son. So Segi went to see the grandma and was like, "Oh, give me Senghang group, Sejin group, or whatever the group is called." And the grandma's like, "No." Because the she's saving it, the spot, for her son. And he was like, oh, should I get rid of the ounce of thing you have left? It's time to let him go, right? So the grandma was shaking, and he went to the hospital where his father was, and it looked like he's about to pull the plug on his father at the end of episode 10. So I'm like, what did the father do to him? He kind of said something like, it's the father's fault or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like, okay, well, is he going to pull the plug or what? Just to get back at his grandma? Because apparently the grandma did something to him, right? So I guess the question is, who tortured, who tortured Do, well, Dohun's body, because Dohun couldn't handle it, so Segi came out. So who tortured them? Who, I'm gonna say, who tortured Segi, because he's the only one who remembered it, right? And Dohun is starting to remember some stuff, which is why he went into hiding. And Segi's back out again because Segi's the only one who can handle it. So this is what I'm saying, like, Segi is the only one who can put his, who can tell people what he wants, right? Dohun is pretty much a little more smooth with it. He doesn't really like confrontation, which is why, like, I liked it when he called Cheyun, or whatever her name was, out of her bullshit, That was the first person he was able to stand up to and say things to. But I think because he doesn't remember anything, he doesn't um know who not to trust. So that's why Segi doesn't like his mom. Segi doesn't like the grandma. So the main question is, who tortured him? We know that his mom was a witness. So his mom saw the abuse happening and she did not do anything about it. And he was tortured for a whole year. So the question is, who did it? Why? And why did it last that long? Right? And it's almost like it's ever since he was rescued that the father has been in the coma. So maybe the father rescued him. And but if the father rescued him, why would you pull the plug on him? So we're halfway done. We're halfway through the we're halfway through the series, and these are the questions that we have, and hopefully, we'll find an answer to.
And this wraps up our journey on the Review Garden. Thank you for joining me today as we explored this drama. If you enjoyed this reaction and review, please remember to subscribe for more insightful videos. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback helps our channel grow. As always, I'm truly grateful for your support and for joining me on this journey on the Review Garden. Until next time, and happy listening. Bye.